Welcome to the Prairie Street Culinary Kitchen. I'm Elliot Moskowitz, founder and CEO of Prairie Street. With me, we have one of our favorite chefs, Chef Erica. Chef Erica is our masterclass teacher on the network, and she teaches you so many things that our tip writers are constantly throwing graphics at you because they're all words of wisdom all the time. So as you know, at Prairie Street, we work a lot with private chefs, and they tell us things that they like to see and have that we haven't had in our portfolio. So we listen, we're agile, we respond, and one of these new items that we have, along with our Chateaubriand that we filmed the other day, is a surprise steak here. And if you look at this, this is just absolutely beautiful. And the surprise steak really is the top. If you had a cowboy steak and that top curve called the spinalis around that has that just unbelievable mix of fat and meat, that's what everybody else. So this is just giving you that on steroids, all in one piece.
Today we're making the classic Steak Diane using our brand new surprise steak. So it's actually, Steak Diane is named for Diana, who was the goddess of the hunt. So that's kind of cool, you know, to sort of loop that mythology back into it. And it's a very kind of classical, old Frenchy way of cooking meat where we make a sauce. It was like very popular like in the 60s, Mad Men era, you know, martinis and steaks and all that stuff. And it was also usually made tableside because it would be flambéed with cognac. Instead of tableside today, we're doing it fireside. We're doing it out here in our beautiful outdoor setting. So. And
this is one of my favorite setups. We do smokers, we do grills, but today we're using live fire, cherry wood. But really, even though we're doing this, not everybody has the same setup. We use cast iron pans. You could replicate almost this entire video inside your kitchen as well. Yeah. We're just teaching methods.
Yeah, and a good heavy stainless steel saute pan, it would be great. If you don't have cast iron, you just use stainless. That's fine. And I love it. I feel like we're channeling Diana here in the wilderness today, in the wilds of Great Neck. Okay, so the surprise steak is a perfect cut for this because it's so well marbled. It's known as a cut that's really ideal for people who prefer their meat like a little bit more cooked than medium rare. If you're more of a medium person, it's a cut that can really hold up to that kind of cooking. You know, usually with steaks, we like to keep it more on the pink side, but this you can actually go a little bit further. Okay, so the sauce for this is pretty simple. A few basic ingredients. We're going to use some shallots, and we're going to saute the shallots up in the fat that remains in the pan. Then we're going to add some Dijon mustard. So that's what makes this very typical Steak Diane, the Dijon mustard. Then we're going to deglaze that pan with cognac. You could use brandy if you don't have cognac, it's fine. And, you know, nothing super fancy. Save the good stuff for drinking. Some cognac. We're going to add some beef broth. You could also use chicken stock, that's fine. We'll finish it with some parsley, and we're going to finish the whole sauce with some of our kosher, vegan, non-dairy butter.
Excellent.
And that's going to make it really kind of rich and silky. So it's going to be great. So now, first thing, we always pat our meat dry. So I'm just getting this on some paper towels. If you've watched any of my videos, you know first thing I always do, dry off that protein. Very important. That's going to give you a good sear, good browning, and your meat won't stick if you get it nice and dry. And
plus, also, if you put this in like a hot pan and it has any liquid, that oil or something,
it's going to splatter.
It's going to splatter. It's not the smartest thing to do.
And the water creates steam, and if you have steam, you don't get browning.
Exactly.
So if there's water between the meat and the pan, you're getting steam, and then you're getting gray meat, not brown meat. And remember, brown equals flavor. So we always want brown crust.
Maillard reaction.
The Maillard reaction, exactly. So I'm going to get this seasoned up. Of course, kosher salt. Be liberal with the salt. Remember that when you cook, a lot of that salt falls off into the pan and becomes part of your sauce. So don't be afraid to really generously season the meat. And some coarse cracked black pepper. This is what's called butcher cracked pepper. So it's kind of got a variation in sizes. Some of it's ground fine, some of it's more coarse. Like that, we want to really press that on to the meat. And then we're going to turn it over. Do our other side. And you know, red meat just loves salt. They're like a really, you know, it's a really important pairing. And the salt also helps to create that nice brown crust on your meat. So it's very important that you use it. Okay, so there we go. So we're also going to cut this into portion-sized pieces. That's what makes this a great dish for like a family dinner, is you're going to pre-cut it into pieces, and then those pieces get finished in the sauce. So we're going to just divide this up into 4 nice little steaks. And it's a really well marbled steak, you know, so you don't have to give people like a huge
Can you
piece.
show them on the side?
Yeah.
And people could really
Look at
appreciate
that.
that.
Look at that beautiful texture and that marbling there. That's really nice meat. Okay, we're gonna move to the fire now and get this steak going. Well, here we are by your incredible fire pit. I love this. It's more like a fire canyon than a pit. It's amazing. And let's move on to our next phase here of cooking this meat over the open fire.
So one of the important things is when you're doing live fire over wood that you have to use the correct wood. And today you can't, we're using cherry wood, fruit woods are good, some people use hickory, mesquite, it's a stronger flavor, but we have the right wood. And we've also preheated this cast iron pan for like 15 minutes, so that's going to be
very hot.
blazing hot.
Yes, and also important to let the wood cook down to embers. So we don't want to cook over a blazing flame. We want to cook down to like glowing embers to cook over.
Actually, you're right. We started the fire about an hour ago, and we have this nice bed, and anytime you throw on a new piece of wood, it catches right away.
Okay, we're going to throw just a little bit of olive oil in our super hot pan. We don't need much because the meat is so well seasoned. And then let's get those steaks right in there. Whoa, you hear that great sound? That is the sound of cooking.
If you don't hear that hot sizzle right away, it's not hot enough.
Yeah, if you don't hear that, pull the meat out and wait. It's much better to take it out, wait a minute, and then go back in. Also, really important, give your meat some room. You always want to leave some, you know, breathing space around your proteins, because if they're too close together, you're going to get steam and not browning. And remember, brown is flavor. It's all about that Maillard reaction. So we're just looking to get some color on the two sides of this. Remember, we're going to make the sauce, and we're going to finish the meat back in the sauce. So we're going to just get some color on this now, flip it over. Make sure if you're doing this, you have some really heavy-duty towels or mitts or even those silicone gloves for picking up these pans later, because that pan is going to get really hot.
That's just great. You know, another advantage of that cast iron is you have an even sear across. If we put it straight on the grill, you'd have some good design, but not necessarily even cooking.
Yeah, and if we're cooking it on the grill, then we're not going to get the fond in the pan. And the fond, it means foundation or base, and that's what we build our sauce upon, that foundation.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, should we take a peek?
Yes.
Let's flip it over. So let's see what kind of color. Oh, look at that.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is Maillard, baby. Woo.
You're going to do the sides too, though?
Definitely, yeah. Anytime I have a flat cut surface, I like to get some heat contact with those sides. Definitely. Okay, so we've got nice color now on both sides. So let's hit those ends a little bit. And what I like to do is just prop them up on the side of the pan so they don't fall over. Just like that. Just hit those ends, not as long, just to get a little color. And we're getting some nice fond. So that's looking good. See, we got some color. Nice. That looks great. We're going to pull these out now.
Right, because we're not trying to cook it to completion.
No,
we're just
going to make our sauce.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to put it on the plate. And even though this was the plate where the raw meat was, that's okay, because this is going back in the sauce, back in the pan. But if we were just taking this meat out now to rest and to slice it up and serve it, I would always put it on a clean plate or a clean cutting board. That's really important. We don't want to cross-contaminate. But because this is going back in that hot pan with the sauce, we're okay. Now, I'm just letting that pan cool down a little bit, because when we put our shallots and things in there, we don't want them to burn instantly. So I'm just pulling it off to the side there, just letting that pan cool down a minute or two, and then we'll continue with our sauce making. So my pan has cooled down a little bit. I'm going to move it back over my fire here. And I'm going to add a little more olive oil. And now we're going to add some diced shallots. And we're going to give that a little stir. We're going to saute up those shallots. We want a little color on them, but we don't want them to get too dark. So just kind of soften them up and get them fragrant. When the shallots start to smell good, they're saying, pay attention, it's time. And I can smell them. Can you smell them?
I can.
I can smell them. Okay, now we're going to add to that a little bit of Dijon mustard. If you like a grainy Dijon, you could use that too. We're gonna just stir that in with our shallots before things get too cooked. I'm going to add some cognac or brandy. It might flambe because we're cooking over an open flame. That's why I have it in a glass. This is really important. I would never take a bottle of liquor and pour it over an open flame because that can be very dangerous. So you always decant it, put it into a little glass or a little cup and then pour it in. That's a really important safety tip. Just gonna let that cook down. What we wanna do here, this boiling and steaming is important. That's the alcohol burning out of the sauce. And that's really important because you don't wanna taste the raw alcohol, you just wanna taste the flavor of that cognac. Now this is just a little teeny bit of kosher Worcestershire sauce that doesn't have anchovies.
Right, because kosher observers don't eat meat and fish together at the same time.
Right, so this one has no anchovies. What it does add is just a really nice kind of rich flavor, what we call umami. Okay, last thing is I'm adding some beef broth, beef stock, chicken stock, any of the above. We're gonna add that. And then we're gonna really let this boil because we want it to thicken, we want it to reduce. This is what's called a reduction sauce. So I'm putting it right back over that really nice hot spot on my grill, and we're gonna let it come to a boil. We're gonna cook it down until it really starts to thicken and reduce. So it's gonna take a few minutes to get nice and hot again, come back down to our consistency that we call nappe. Nappe means it's thick enough to coat or to cling. So you can see now our sauce has really reduced, right? We've gone down by about half the volume.
And that took about 3 or 4 minutes to do.
Yeah, it all depends on how much liquid you have in your pan and how hot your pan is. Now, I'm gonna just move it off to the side here again because it's getting very hot, like that, so I can reach it. Now I'm gonna add some of the kosher, vegan, non-dairy butter that we like to use in our sauces. And we're gonna let that just start to melt and incorporate into our sauce. And what this does, this is called monter au beurre, finishing a sauce or lifting it with butter. And what this does is it makes it just really like glossy, velvety, delicious. It adds a little bit of richness. And using a kosher vegan product like this works great. Okay,
but what's cool also is that you're layering the flavors. You're not just throwing
absolutely.
them in all at one time.
This is so important in sauce making. That's a great point. If you just dumped everything in the pan, it would taste good, but it wouldn't be as good. Taking the time to saute the shallots. When you add the liquor, the cognac, there's sugar in that, and it actually caramelizes as it reduces. So it's important to do this in layers.
So the order in which you make the sauce is important as well.
It is. Mm-hmm. All right, so you see how we're nice and thick now? This is called nappe. We have reduced down. And now I'm gonna take my steaks, right? So we have some juices on the plate from the meat just hanging out, and that juice is gold, so that goes in our sauce. Now, these steaks, as a chef, I can touch them. They feel very soft. They're still on the rare side. We're gonna keep going in here for a few minutes, take them more to a medium rare, medium. Then we'll take a temperature. So you can see the sauce is continuing to reduce as the meat cooks in it, and that's good because we want that sauce to be nice and thick and glossy and coat our meat. And remember, we threw those meat juices in there, so it did get thinned out a bit again, and now we're reducing all of that down. All right, I think we're looking pretty good here. So now I'm sliding this off the heat because I don't want it to cook anymore, and we're gonna take a temp on that steak. Always take the temp on your thickest piece in the thickest spot, of course, because that's gonna be the last one to get done. So I'm gonna go right in here, and we are at, perfect. We are right around 120. Okay, we're gonna slide this off the heat now. You and I will get a little fresh air away from the fire, and then we'll go plate this up. So here we are, we're done. We cooked it in the sauce. Some of them are medium, some are medium rare, so everybody's happy in the family. Let's pull a piece out. It's now also rested in the sauce, which we always want to do. And we're gonna slice that up. Now you could just serve everybody their own little steak and give them a knife and let them go, but I like to serve steak sliced. I think it looks nicer. So let's see how we did on the inside. So that's a beautiful medium, right? We've got a nice little, just a hint of pink rose in the middle there. Look how juicy that is, Elliot.
That's
oh my
amazing.
God. And that's after it's rested, which is crazy. It's
is
still
crazy.
just running with juices. And remember, when you're slicing meat, always use kind of a gentle back and forth motion. Don't press that knife down because you will press out all that amazing juice. So let's get a few more pieces there, just like that. How many pieces do you think we should serve people?
Depends if we're on or off camera.
If I was working in a restaurant, we would give 3. If someone's coming over for dinner, maybe we'll give a few more. Bring this over, and we'll just fan those out. Look at that beautiful medium.
Yeah, it's
I would call
amazing.
that a perfect medium.
Me too.
It looks really good. And you can still see all like that marbleizing in there. And amazing. And then let's get some of that sauce. We want to finish our sauce with some parsley. Mix in the parsley right before we serve it so the parsley stays bright and fresh. And a little more black pepper. This is almost like the classic steak au poivre, where you used to crust the steak with pepper. It's a very similar sauce. We'll just take a nice spoonful, thank you, and we'll go right over our meat. Just like that. And you can see how reduced the sauce got. It really thickened up nicely. And there you have it. This is our classic steak Diane made with our brand new cut, the surprise steak. The big surprise is how amazingly delicious and tender this is gonna be.
No surprise to me because I source our meat, but you take great meat and you have a fantastic chef.
And a good recipe.
And a great recipe, and you pretty much have a guaranteed outcome.
No surprises.
Okay.
Time.
The
Let's
best part of the
taste
video.
The best part of every shoot is eating all this delicious meat. So let's get in there.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. No surprises. It's amazing. That's got great texture. And I'm usually a medium rare kind of gal, but this at medium is amazing. That's exactly the point of a steak like this, is you can go beyond medium rare. It's still amazingly tender, juicy, really flavorful. It's great.
It's like having a whole steak with just your favorite part of the steak in every single bite. Well, we put a lot of energy into these videos. We have a big team. We put a lot of resources. We're giving you information that's the highest quality. Just do us a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithm push this out so we can keep on giving you consistent content. Part of the purpose of giving you this content is you could go on our website, prairiestreet.co, and you could buy these products for yourselves. You could see the videos, see the recipes, and follow them, and we're there for you. So thanks so much, Erica, for joining us again. We love having you, and we're on every Sunday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for joining the Prairie Street Culinary Kitchen.
Subscribe to our channel now and set your notifications so you don't miss our latest recipes and chef-led tutorials. Then head over to prairiestreet.co to shop for your next big meal.